It all began in the village of Wadar. Carved into the rocky wadis, overlooking a lush oasis. It was a popular stop for travelers and caravans, headed to and from the town of Ascar. The combination of mountain water and vegetation created the perfect breeding ground for horses and camels. Traveling parties would set up camp around the oasis, looking to replenish both their spirits and supplies. The young boys from the village would pour out, offering goods and services to the weary travelers. This is how young Ayzar's story began. The son of an urban merchant, he spent his days selling his father's horses and camels to travelers who visited the village. For a small fee, he would even help load goods and prepare them for travel. When not selling beasts of burden, he spent his days raising them. He would shepherd the herds and keep a sharp lookout for predators and bandits alike. He begged his father to take him along when the men from the village rode out with animals and goods to sell in town. But he was forever too young. His father assured him that when he was old enough, he would lead a caravan of his own. But for now, he was to stay and watch over the family and the herd. His father was right to be concerned, for while the village was safe, the roads were not. Desert bandits roamed in packs like jackals looking for prey. Village parties and caravans were all at risk. It was these desert bandits who descended upon the village party headed to Ascar, where they killed many of the men and stole all of the goods and livestock. Ayzar's father barely escaped, and he rode quickly to tell the local lord, the Emir Iyalis, what had happened. But he and his men were off at war, and the local magistrate, lazy and corrupt, demanded bribes before he would even lift a finger. There would be no justice. The bandits and looters grew in number, and the villagers lived in constant fear. No longer did Ayzar dream of forming a caravan. Now, he dreamed only of revenge. The young man was talented. Growing up around travelers and their camps had gifted him with irresistible charm. And soon, he convinced others to follow him and take up arms against the bandits and drive them out. Ayzar was confident in his warband, for though they were young, from the time they are born, the wind and sand forge the people of the desert, instilling them with both the resilience and determination not seen in men from the north. But it was not easy to get these men to work together, for it is common in the land of the Aserai for resentment and division to exist. Clans and villages often pass down their bloody history through the generations. But Ayzar united his men with a combination of leadership and action. Time and again, Ayzar and his men tracked down the bandit parties and put them to the sword. The warriors began to leave their old bonds behind and forge new ones amongst each other and their leader. After an attack on another bandit party, a captive offered to trade Ayzar information in exchange for his life and freedom. He whispered of a giant bandit camp that was used as a staging ground, a fortress for the leaders of the desert bandit group. Ayzar agreed that if the man led them to the bandit base, he would let him go. As soon as they reached the hideout, they stormed it. Javelins and swords rained down upon the bandits who were not prepared for the attack. All were killed. Ayzar and his men packed up a mountain of goods, loot from the many raids the now dead bandits had conducted. The Sarranid tribe, from which Ayzar and his family descended, had always been known as merchants and caravanners. But now news spread of a Sarranid war band that had broken the bandits and their leaders. The roads were safe once again. The neglected and war-torn lands of the Ayzar were plagued with troubles. And everywhere they arrived, they were needed. Gathering tools, escorting and defending caravans, and of course, hunting down bandits was all lucrative work. The Sarranid clan quickly became more wealthy and more powerful. They mastered the art of desert warfare. From atop his best camel, Ayzar would command his men with a clear view of the battlefield. Archers would shower the enemies with arrows, and then those who made it close enough would receive the javelins, axes, and swords of the infantry. All the while, mounted warriors would ride around the enemy, also throwing javelins, and once their ammunition was exhausted, they would turn to the lance, making quick work of any who were left. Those who managed to escape spoke in terror of the Sarranid and the storm of javelins and arrows they unleashed upon their foes. And so Ayzar, now loved by the people and feared by the bandits, was no longer content with running a caravan. Now he had greater ambition. He sought an audience with the Sultan to offer his services in exchange for land and vassalage. But the offer was spurned. The Sultan stated that there were no threats to the kingdom he could not handle, and that he had no need for a bunch of Bedouins. It was to be expected. The Ayzar nobles had always been prideful, petty, and corrupt. They had come to power from imperial backing. When the empire divided, the Ayzar clans united to throw out the foreigners. But all knew the confederation and peace would not last forever. Ayzar, too, would find imperial backing to further his clan's position. He sought out Garios, leader of the Western Empire, and received a mercenary contract where he was ordered to help secure the lands around Ortizia from Battanian and Valandian, and possibly Ayzar attack. The arrows and javelins used to conquer the desert bandits were now visited upon any who crossed path with the Sarranid. Enemies were routed, and the dinars flowed. The combination of charm and victory quickly won over the Western Empire nobles. Garios recognized his talent and offered Ayzar vassalage as a way to secure the service of the Sarranid. They continued to drive back the enemies of the empire. All the while, Ayzar waited for the Ayzar to come. And it was not long before they did. With the support of the Sarranid, the Legion crushed the Ayzar army. It would take time for them to regroup, and Ayzar decided now was the time to strike. He used his influence to convince the other nobles to march south, something they were reluctant to do. Quyaz, known for its wealth and its walls, was now vulnerable. The town was taken, and the city walls now bore the standard of the Sarranid. The Sultan Unkid was irate at the loss of his treasured fief, and gathered another great army to retake the city. But Ayzar had prepared, and the Aserai were not up to the task. After they were broken, Ayzar struck again, this time the city of Sanala. And then, soon after, Asgard. The Sultan and the Aserai nobles were forced to sue for peace. The peacetime was put to good use. Ayzar secured his holdings and a wife. It was at the wedding party that his men first bestowed the title upon him. Shouts of "Long live Sultan Ayzar" filled the air, and he saw this as a sign. Thus, the Sarranid Sultanate was born. Sultan Ayzar sent riders to Garios, declaring his new kingdom and offering friendship. But the Imperial would not accept, and a legion marched out to crush the Sarranid. But Ayzar's army had also grown, for he had reached out to the nobles of the Aserai and convinced some to join him. He gathered all the men he could and rode to battle. They met on a grassy plain, and there the legion was shattered. As punishment, the Sultan laid siege to the town of Ortysia and took it for his own. The loss of the city sent Garios into a fit of rage, and in his anger, he reached out to the Battanian king, Caladog. He offered to let the Battanian army march through his lands if he agreed to destroy the Sarranid and their new sultan. The town of Ortysia and the castle Garantor were tempting prizes. Caladog agreed. He gathered a massive Battanian horde and head south. First, he would take the castle. Then, once the town had been cut off, he would take it as well. Sultan Ayzar summoned the full might of the Sarranid, and there, on the western plains, the two armies met. The Sarranid Sultanate. Here we have that eagle as the faction emblem. See that on the shields in game. Coming down into the history, our story starts with Sultan Ayzar. I tweaked it a little bit to make it fun. That's the whole point. I try to keep the names consistent at least. When it comes to tactics of the Sarranid, good skirmishing ability with thrown weapons and polearms. And I stayed true to that in the game with my own character, and then also powerful heavy cavalry with your noble troop tree being the Ferris. You've got those in spades. Here they say the weaknesses are the infantry are easily outmatched and the archers are outclassed. But I used Aserai troops and neither of these things are true. I think Aserai armies are some of the most complete and incredible armies in the game. Even when I have to go up against them, I hate it because they always do so much damage with those javelins and arrows. I think they're a crazy powerful faction in Bannerlord, and I love to play them. There was really no way to simulate the weaknesses without making it awkward, so I just used the Aserai army and I focused on having archers, the shielded javelin troop, and of course, instead of Mamluks, which in Warband are awesome heavy cav, I used the Ferris. So for me, I did archers, shielded infantry, and Ferris troops to simulate the Sarranid armies as best I could. And it's just a beautiful combination of your archers with their double quivers shooting into the enemies, your infantry there ready to flank and throw their javelins when the enemy gets close enough after suffering through the withering fire from the archers, and then your Ferris units running around throwing javelins into the backs of the enemy. It's just an incredible combination. It's beautiful chaos, and a Sarranid playthrough where you rise up and secure the south is really a lot of fun. Before we get to the battle, prepare yourself to gaze upon a four-legged legend on the back of which a grand sultanate was forged. A vicious beast of war who devours all in its path. Behold, Carl the Camel. I'm going to tell you something that makes me sick. You got all these types of armor for horses, and guess what? You can't get any armor for your war camel. It's disgusting, and it's discriminatory, and it breaks my heart for my special boy here. And we've been riding around, kicking ass and taking names, and I can't even get him some camel armor. And what the hell are you modders doing? You got all these mods for diplomacy and garrisons and 75 different types of Templar armor, but not one piece for my boy here. This never would have stood with the warband modding community, and I gotta tell you, it really, I think, speaks to how poorly the camels have been treated, and it just makes me sick. Look what you've done. See how much pain he's in? He just wants some armor. That's all. And he deserves it. I love you, Carl. You're amazing. And you're my special guy. And we just had a blast together. If you've not fought from on top of one of these monsters, I challenge you to do so. Because they are fierce, barbaric animals from which nothing can escape. I'll show you my Sarranid Sultan build here. As you can see, I went heavy in the social to max out this leadership so that I could get a bunch of party size. I also have a steward who's almost maxed out as well. So I'll actually have more troops. I think my personal army is somewhere around 440 guys, which is a lot of fun because you can just take out whole armies with your elite army all the time. Even if it's 600-700, it doesn't matter, because most of your troops are going to be elite troops. So you just run around and wipe the map. Really stuck with that. Grew up as a charming character. Now remember, once you get past 275 in charm, you really don't get anything. So if you're going to go 10 in social, I don't know that you need to put 5 focus points in here, because you really just need to touch this 275. You can find a chart that'll help you, but did some riding. After that, I stuck to the polearm and javelins. And for my polearm, I actually ended up using this pole sword. You can use it one-handed or two-handed, so you can use it with the shield and stab things. It doesn't do a ton of thrust damage, but if you level up your polearm and your riding, it's enough to one-shot most things, and if not, it damn near kills them. And then what's nice about it is you can throw your shield on the back and swing it like a glaive. Again, the damage isn't just insane because it's cut damage, but the length is really nice. I would say that it would probably be better to use the Ramphaya that you can get in Battanian lands, because it comes with a chance to dismount cavalry when you hit them. So that would maybe be a better weapon. But the pole sword is found in Aserai lands, and I like to stick with the thematic playthrough. So I use the pole sword. You can use a sword if you're going to be riding around on a horse, but if you're going to be riding around on a badass, then the sword is actually a little short. Even the 116, 120 length one-handers, you're really going to want something that can reach down off that hump and touch someone. So the pole sword is perfect for that. And of course, the Jareed is just an incredible weapon. 121 Pierce. You throw a bunch of throwing perks on top of this and you're throwing RPGs around. It is incredibly powerful. It's just so much fun to ride around on your camel like a mobile artillery platform and just sling these things into your enemies. And then, of course, over here, I just grabbed whatever armor I could. And make sure you get the best foot armor you can if you're going to be up on one of these bad boys, because those feet get hit a lot, actually. So, something to be aware of. All right, let's get this battle started. And you are in for a treat because I have the bigger battle mod going. And as you can see, there's a shit ton of units out here. This thing's going to look like a Braveheart movie. And boy, it looks like they might be coming soon. Are they coming right at us? That's kind of cool. Seems like something the Battanians would do. Just come right out the gate at you. Well, that's fun. And here they come. You guys got to try the camel. I know you carousel kids love to go up and down and all around on your ponies. But if you've not experienced the war camel, you're missing out. This is actually a Hunts Free or whatever, the one I won from a tournament. Okay, we're going to go ahead and send the cavalry in to start prepping shit up with javelins and hitting their cav. Probably should have sent them in a little sooner. Looks like they're going to get a nice charge off here, which is fine, though, because that's what these javelins are made for. You just let them come through, and you find you a big old guy like this cataphract right there. Oh, he fell down before I could hit him. And you just start pumping these kids because these javelins are amazing for taking down cav. And you just cannot beat them. You just cannot beat them. They'll take down the horse, the cavalrymen, which, let's be fair, their fates are kind of intertwined. And when you can get those big cataphracts or these imperial heavy horsemen that are pretty heavily armored, it's a real nice shot. And if you can't hit the rider, hit the horse. That's fine. Ain't no shame in the game. It's wartime, baby. And this is what I do. I just sit back here and help the boys. Now, you got to be careful with that friendly fire, because as you can see, it's pretty nasty.
Infantry! Footmen engage! Come in! Move! Move! Infantry!
Oh, you like javelins? I got javelins for you. Now, if he dropped a bag, can I pick these up? I don't know. I don't know if I grabbed that perk yet. But anyway, when you're out of javelins, you grab your pole sword here, and you can see you really get some nice range with this thing. Gee whiz, they got some archers out there. All right, now we'll get our archers firing into them here. That should cool them off a little bit. And they're really pouring in. And now here comes the cav. And look at that beautiful chaos. Just magnificent. Some great shots going out, guys. Gonna be a lot of A-pluses after the battle. Look at them. So badass. I gotta tell you, these Aserai archers kick ass. They pump. 2 quivers, great penetration, easy to level up. You don't start getting archers, I think, until they're level 3. They're just infantry until that point, but they're jab infantry, so it ain't that bad. Here comes some infantry reinforcements, and look at that. They're just getting rolled. And this is what you want to see. You know what? They're running away. No, sir. And now you're going to get it. Don't let them run away like cowards. Bunch of hog-smelling barbaric pieces of trash. Don't want none of the desert boys. I promise you that. We will put it on you. Outstanding. Look at that. Yeah! Great job, guys. That was outstanding work. And there you have it. From the small village of Wadar to the grand Sultan of the South, you have witnessed the rise of the Sarranid. Oklahoma out.